There are some moments in life when your entire world shrinks down to a single chaotic point. For me, that moment came in the middle of a crowded market where six screaming strangers cornered my daughters, berating them in the name of God. My in-laws, who had just lost their son, were trying to steal my kids. They thought they could use their church to turn everyone against us. But they underestimated my rage and the power of a meticulously crafted paper trail. Ever felt so betrayed and disrespected that you knew the only option was to fight back? If you've ever wanted to see a perfectly orchestrated plan for justice unfold, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and get ready for a story where piety, lies, and a church Facebook group collide in a blaze of delicious, righteous fury. Let's dive in. My ex-husband had a way of leaving a trail of destruction wherever he went. Even in death, he managed to create a special kind of chaos. An accident took his life last year, a tragedy that, for most families, would be a time for grief and unity. For us, it was a spark that ignited a dumpster fire of drama. You see, I was mid-divorce when he passed. The reason? I found out he was cheating on me. Not just once, but in a full-blown, years-long affair that resulted in him fathering two boys. His affair partner also passed away, leaving those two little boys orphaned. My two daughters, a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, were the ones who discovered the betrayal. I had to sit there and watch the raw, agonizing hurt wash over them, the betrayal from a father they had trusted completely. That trauma is still something we're working through in therapy. Then there were his parents, my ex-in-laws, a pair of self-righteous, entitled people who felt a moral obligation to meddle in our lives. They had a singular goal after their son's death, to get custody of my daughters, claiming I was an unfit mother. We're in court over it now, a legal battle that feels both exhausting and absurd. And then they tried to live with us, an idea so preposterous it was laughable. The only things they didn't know how to do were respect boundaries and tell the truth. But their audacity reached a new, horrifying level last weekend. It was a beautiful Saturday morning at the local farmer's market, one of my favorite places. The air was thick with the scent of fresh bread, ripe fruits, and the earthy aroma of vegetables. It was my youngest daughter's birthday month, and to celebrate, I gave her a budget and told her to go wild. She ran off, a wide smile on her face, in search of chocolate and sweets. After about an hour, a prickle of unease started to creep up my spine. Why was she taking so long? Just as I pulled out my phone to call her, it rang. Her name flashed on the screen, but when I answered, all I heard was a desperate, panicked whisper choked with sobs. "Mom, some weird people have cornered me." My heart leapt into my throat. The world around me, the bustling market, the happy conversations, all of it blurred into a meaningless fog. I grabbed my oldest daughter, a fierce protector by nature, and we ran. We found her backed against a stall, her face streaked with tears, a group of 6 older women surrounding her like a pack of vultures. They were berating her. My youngest daughter, just a child, was being publicly shamed. "You're unchristian," one of them sneered. "Refusing to see your own grandparents? Refusing to be a good big sister to your poor orphaned baby brothers?" My blood turned to ice. My youngest daughter, who hadn't come to terms with her father's double life, was being harassed by strangers. The same strangers who, I realized with a jolt, were from my ex-in-law's church. This was no random attack. This was a calculated, vicious ambush. My older daughter, without a word, went to the checkout stand to pay for our groceries while I stepped between the mob and my crying child. I felt a surge of cold, protective fury. I took a deep breath, trying to control the tremor in my hands. I looked at the women, some of whose faces I recognized from family gatherings at church. "Leave my daughter alone," I said, my voice slow and shaking with controlled anger. They didn't. They doubled down. "You're the worst," one woman screamed, "for refusing to obey your in-laws like a good Christian wife." Another chimed in, "You should be ashamed of yourself for turning your children against God-fearing people." The volume of the shouting escalated. My face grew hot with rage. I unleashed on them, a verbal torrent of fury fueled by years of their passive-aggressive judgment. I told them to mind their own business, that they had no right to harass my children, and that their so-called Christian values were nothing but a shield for their cruelty. The shouting match grew so loud that a market employee had to intervene, telling us to all leave. I grabbed my girls, my youngest still trembling, and we fled to the car with the women following us like a baying pack. The drive home was silent, filled with the quiet sobs of my youngest. That night, after the girls were safely in bed, I sat in the silent house, the rage still burning in my chest. I knew who was behind this. The only way to find out what had prompted such a public spectacle was to talk to someone on the inside. I messaged a man from the church, an old friend who I was still on good terms with, and told him what had happened. He apologized profusely and then dropped a bombshell. My ex-mother-in-law had posted a dramatic, over-the-top sob story in their church's private Facebook group. It was a masterpiece of emotional manipulation worthy of a Hallmark movie. She had claimed that my daughters and I were leaving them homeless and penniless, even though they had inherited my ex's personal bank account and life insurance. She wailed about how my daughters refused to speak to them, and most vilely, she accused us of being the reason they had lost their grandsons, the two boys from the affair. The boys, I should clarify, are living with a distant relative of my ex-husband's, a situation that my in-laws could have easily helped with but chose not to. But the most disgusting part? The claim she made to cover up her son's infidelity. She told the church that the affair partner was a surrogate, and that I, their Christian daughter-in-law, had refused to take the boys because I had only wanted girls. The sheer nerve, the audacity was staggering. It was a disgusting lie, an insult to my character, and a deep, cutting blow. As I read through the messages he forwarded me, a calm, chilling resolution settled over me. They wanted a show. They were going to get one. I still had all the evidence from my divorce case, meticulously gathered and stored. The divorce wasn't finalized, so there were no legal repercussions for releasing the information. And their church? They were strict about a lot of things, but they were incredibly strict about infidelity. Cheating was a mortal sin, unforgivable, whether it was the husband or the wife. My in-laws had weaponized their church against me, and now I was going to use that very same weapon against them. The next day, with a newfound sense of purpose, I went to a local print shop. I paid a premium to get everything printed on beautiful, glossy paper. The print shop clerk eyed me strangely as I printed out pages of intimate text conversations, photos of my ex-husband with his mistress, and the most damning evidence of all, the messages from my in-laws harassing me about the divorce, and, my coup de grace, the messages to my daughters. In one of them, written just 2 days after their father's death, they called my daughters bastards and blamed them for his death because they had told me about the affair which had led to the divorce.
When I got home, I spent hours putting together my masterpieces. They look like little prayer songbooks, the kind churches give out for hymns. But inside, they held a different kind of story. The cover page showed a high-quality, glossy photo of my ex-husband and his mistress passionately kissing in our living room. Their faces were clear, their skin tones and hair color visibly different. The caption read, "John's and Jane's love story." Before the next service, I went to the church and quietly placed a stack of my custom-made hymn books on the back desk, where they keep extra songbooks for people who forget their own. I watched as people began to pick them up, oblivious, and then I slipped away, a slow smile spreading across my face. The gossip mill went into overdrive. Within an hour, my phone was blowing up with messages. The church's Facebook group, once a bastion of support for my in-laws, devolved into a digital war zone. The pastor himself had to intervene to keep things from turning completely toxic. The members, once so judgmental of me, were now directing their righteous fury at my deceased ex-husband and his Jezebel mistress. The words they used were so vile I couldn't repeat them, but I did get a good laugh out of it. For all their newfound sympathy, a few still believed I was in the wrong for the divorce, but even they had to admit it was understandable that I had failed in my duties after the shock. Still, the apology letters that arrived from my girls from a few of the women were more than worth it. And my in-laws? They were shamed into leaving the church. My ex-mother-in-law made a post on her Facebook wall complaining about how alienated she felt and how no one cared for the elderly anymore. She lamented that her great son wasn't around to take care of her, a laughable claim since I was the sole breadwinner for our family. The justice was so sweet, so perfectly executed, it felt almost divine. The final piece of the puzzle was the will. My ex had made one and I had foolishly assumed he had named our daughters as beneficiaries. That day I went to the lawyer, I found out the ugly truth. He had named his parents, the very people who were now broke, humiliated, and alienated from their community. They got his bank account and life insurance, but with his death, they had lost their meal ticket. And with my righteous fury, I had ensured they lost their reputation and their community as well. They had tried to destroy me and my girls, but they had only ended up destroying themselves. This story is a powerful reminder that some people will use any means necessary, even their faith, to get what they want. But it's also a testament to the fact that truth has a way of coming to light, and when it does, it can be a devastating and beautiful thing. What do you think of this story? Was the revenge justified? Have you ever had to expose someone's hypocrisy to get justice? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed this tale of poetic retribution and subscribe for more captivating Reddit revenge stories.